I'm Lee Broders. I'm a business mentor and life coach, and I'm going to be appearing on the Prosperity Online Show. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about a bit about me, which is boring, but however, I am going to open some insights into how to live a limitless life, how to overcome your limiting beliefs, but more importantly, how you can do whatever you want and have time to do and be who you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we're joined by none other than Lee Broders, a man whose journey takes us from the rigorous ranks of the British Army to the boardrooms of successful businesses. Now, Lee, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm very good, Prosper. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Absolutely. Well, should I start off by saying thank you so much for your service? For those that, are going to be following your journey, they need to know that you did your part.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it does mean a lot when people say that.
Absolutely. Now, for those that are tuning in, Lee's story is one of transformation and resilience. After he served in the UK Special Offices as, in the commando department, he actually went on and founded his first business at just 26. But that was only the beginning of his journey, because he did go on and experienced burnout, and he found his true calling as a life coach and business mentor. Now he's on a mission to help people find clarity, confidence, and purpose, and proving that anyone can rise, thrive, and even fly. Yes, fly, because he is also a qualified pilot. So all of those wings and everything else, he knows how to fly and land a plane. And today we're going to be uncovering the strategies that he uses to bring that military precision to personal growth and business success. And I'm hoping by the end of this episode you're going to feel as though you've been through the journey with Lee. As he says, he is your guide. And even though we're going to be, talking about who he is and what he brings to the table, and I'm hoping that you also gain insights to overcome your own obstacles. So I encourage you to stick around, because this isn't just an episode. I know it's going to be an invitation to be a part of a transformative story. Now, Lee, I could go on and talk about things that I am not qualified to, or maybe don't have the rank to discuss. You've had an incredible journey. I mean, obviously from the army to entrepreneurship. First of all, what actually inspired you to take a leap into the business world?
So it wasn't a conscious decision when I started. So I didn't do well at school. I only got one qualification, but I joined the army anyway, and I did 10 years. I had a wonderful time there. Now, the interesting thing was I got out at 26 in 1996 to a job. As we're all told in school, we're told do well, get qualifications, and get a job. In the military, we were told the same sort of thing: do these courses, and you can go and work for these people or these people. And I did. I got myself a job. The problem was, within a month of coming out of the military, the job fell through. It never even started, never even happened. I didn't even get on site. And I was sort of stuck. At the time, I was working 4 cash-in-hand jobs. And someone turned to me and says, "Lee, why don't you start your own business?" And my answer was, don't be stupid. I'm not clever enough. I don't know anything about business. How can I start a business? What would I do? And the conversation happened, and in 1996, I knew how to build computers. And he said, "Well, can you build me a computer?" And I went, "Yeah, of course I can." So I built him a computer. And then he introduced me to his accountant, and we talked about other things. I got 5 more orders in to build computers. And then that moved from single personal computers into small businesses where they wanted computers and networks. And that's how my first business started.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking us on that journey. Now, you did mention something surprising there, Lee. You said even in the army, they will tell you do these courses and you'll be able to get a job or work for these kind of people. Didn't the army commanders consider the army as a job?
No, I'm talking about when you get out. You get when you're coming out, you get something called resettlement,
Right.
and you get given some funds and courses to help you transition from military life into civilian life.
Mm,
So during these courses, it's very much the same as that they talk about the jobs you can do and the people you can work for. They don't talk about, have you ever thought about starting your own business? Have you ever thought about working for yourself? Entrepreneurship, even in those days, was not something that is pushed through into I say in schools or even the military when people are coming out. So it the army is a job. It's an amazing job. But coming out, there's a transition from military to civilian where you get assisted in a way.
Now, tell me, obviously, when you're in the army, everything is, there's protocol, there's rules and things of that nature. What was it like coming back to becoming a civilian?
Personally, for me, I struggled a bit because I was used to structure. I was used to things being done in a certain way. I was used to a lot of things that didn't exist out in the civilian world. So I struggled a bit. It took me a year or two to get past those things. But then you start to integrate and learn how things work. And what I found I was good at was implementing the skills, techniques, and everything I'd learned in the military about discipline, getting things done into civilian life. And I found that I because of that, I stood above many people who would say they'd do something but wouldn't. And for me, it was if I said I was going to do something, it would happen. So it was hard to start with, but it was essential and something I had to go through for me to be able to thrive in the businesses I've done.
Absolutely. Well, because I can only imagine because, when you're in the military, they tell you, breakfast is at this time and it will be at that time. You have to be at location at whatever time, and there's a lot of teamwork that happens because you're doing it for the safety of all the other people involved that you're working with. Whereas out here it's individualistic, you show up when you can, and nobody really pays attention or takes accountability for their own actions. And somebody could cut you in traffic, but if somebody cuts you in the military or at war, that's, that could be, detrimental to the troops and things of that nature. So I can only imagine this would have been sort of difficult. But what is it that you maybe leaned onto that then helped you in the 2 years to actually make this transition successful?
Um, I spoke to other colleagues, people still serving, and people who'd already got out. I built up a strong network of people around me that understood me and my background. And it was around that network of friends and colleagues that was became the essential support system that I had. I later on then went on to build other support systems for other people and to be that person for them.
Now, you started doing computers, in 1996, and I think that was at, the cusp of, technological advancements, especially in that era. But Y2K started coming hot and fast, and everybody didn't know what to do, with the computers. Is that what would have caused you to burn out in this particular instance?
No, no. So Y2K for me was a bit of a non-entity. It was a huge thing, but by then I was working with a number of businesses, both SMEs and corporates. And it wasn't as a my burnout happened when I was 47, which was 2017, whilst I did a master's of law. So as I said before, I didn't do very well at school. I never thought I was academic, but during my I went through a midlife crisis at 40, hence the fly-in. I also did a law degree then. which led on to a Masters of Law, and a Masters of Law whilst running my existing businesses. Just there was overwhelm, and that led to burnout. So it wasn't anything to do with computers per se. Computers was just one of the businesses that I had at the time.
So, I mean, obviously, you'd already succeeded in life. I mean, you'd already gotten some sort of stead. What made you want to go and pursue or torture yourself again, going through school and doing the 2 degrees?
So, as I said, for me, I went through. I use the words. I went through a midlife crisis. But instead of the fast cars, fast women, and fast bikes, I decided to learn. So this was at 40. At 40, I learned to play saxophone. At 41, I learned to fly. At 42, I took on a law degree, which was supposed to be in 6 years because it was part-time. I did it in 4 years and then went on to a full-time master's. During that time, I opened another couple of businesses to complement the ones I already had. And that was it. And during my year of doing a full-time master's, I went through burnout, not knowing what burnout was, because of the stuff I'd done in the military. I thought I had a resilient mindset. I thought I could go through anything. I pushed myself that extra bit further all the time, and this time it was a bit too much. I struggled to get up. I didn't want to get up. When I did get up, I wasn't motivated. I just felt washed out.
But Lee, you would understand that in the military, they only take you through exercises that have been tried and tested on humans, and they know what human capacity is. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing them.
Yeah.
That's one thing for sure. Whereas this, you're putting yourself under so much stress, which hasn't been tested and tried on human beings. I mean, I've never heard of somebody who goes in to learn to be a pilot and goes on to, become a lawyer and masters in law, starts 2 other businesses as well, and things of that nature. This must have maybe really shaped your understanding of the human potential. How have you used this moment at this particular time to then help others be, do, and have a happier existence as well?
Well, for me, it was burnout that was the catalyst to what I do now. If I'd not been through that experience, and it's not a pleasant experience, but it was one I had to go through, I wouldn't have come through to start being a life coach to start with. So the story was that having gone through burnout, someone said, "Oh, Lee, I think you're going through burnout." And I was like, "Oh," I had a quick look at what it was. I started I contacted a couple of counsellors, had a couple of sessions with them, didn't go brilliantly, and then started with a life coach. And that was it was refreshing, it was different. It certainly opened my eyes to some things. But one of the things that this life coach says, "Lee, you do realise you can do this for yourself." And I was like, okay. So I actually went out and learned about life coaching. During that time, I I got accredited, and certified as an NLP practitioner, a life coach, and a CBT practitioner. Now, the interesting thing is when you start learning stuff about things like limiting beliefs, learned behaviors, things like the tools like the wheel of life, you start talking about them in natural life. Which used to annoy it used to annoy my wife. It still does sometimes. But a friend of mine turned around and says, Lee, why don't you become a life coach? My answer was, don't be so stupid. It's not a real thing. People don't pay to talk to you. I was wrong. And if I wore hats, I'd have probably eaten a lot of them by now. But what that led to was in February 2018, starting my life coaching practice. Now, NLP and CBT and life, they're just tools that can be used to overcome limiting beliefs, identify limiting beliefs. A lot of people don't even understand what they are, or that they have them. And that's where it started, and that progressed on to business coaching. And then last year in 2023, I did a master's in business mentoring. yeah, that was it. And that's how I sort of got into business mentoring and life coaching and helping other people. And one of the things I'll say is I did an exercise called values and purpose at the very beginning of what I was doing with the life coaching. And that totally changed my outlook and perspective on life, and what I do, and the fact that being able to help people is a huge and important part of life. And I always say now that the more you give, the more you get, and helping just one person can radically change their life as well as mine.
Mm. Now, Lee, you're obviously somebody that needs to be set down and hooked up to some wires so that people can actually understand how that head works. Sorry if I'm using a very different analogy here, because you presented to us somebody who wasn't really good at school and joined the army because from the way you said it, it was probably the only option that was available to you at that particular moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, based on the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
previous.
I could have gone and worked in a shop,
All right, absolutely.
but
I mean,
that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted something different. I wanted something to to be of service.
I mean, obviously,
And
you be serving other people with their milk and perishables in the shop, right? But what I'm trying what I'm trying to say is, um, you left school knowing you're not good at it, but now you're sitting with two master's degrees. You
yeah.
know what I mean? So what I'm trying to get at here, Lee, is was it people that would have told you you're not good at school that sort of put you off of it? Because right now we could literally stop recording this and go find them and show them your two master's degrees and say, is this what you say this guy would never amount to anything?
So I know from the work I've done on myself, it was when I was about 8, and I was called an idiot and stupid by a teacher because
Hmm.
I couldn't recite my times tables. Now I love school. I didn't do well at school not because I wasn't clever. I did well at school because I didn't believe I was good at exams. I was down for because it wasn't coursework. It was all 2 years of work in one exam. And one of the things I say is at 13 in the UK, we're asked to choose options and subjects that will be what we do in life. And at 13, I didn't even sometimes want to tie my shoelaces, let alone think about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then at 15, 16, we're asked to take exams that will define what we do. And in the education system, we're told to do well. If we do well at school, we can go into a university and we can go and get a good job. And if you don't get a good job, you'll end up with a low paid menial job and you'll make nothing of your life. And that's what had sort of was stuck in my head from the age of 8, that I wasn't clever. I was stupid because I couldn't do the times tables. I thoroughly enjoyed school and I was down for quite a few qualifications, but when it came to it, I didn't revise. It might have been my own fault. I might have done a lot better. But in my psyche, it was, well, what's the point? I'm not clever enough to do this. I was told when I was 8 that I was stupid and an idiot. So why should I put myself through that? So that's where I got to. Now I can talk about that now because I did a lot of work into me going through burnout to find out why did all this happened. So that was the thing for me, is coming out and saying, actually, I'm not academic. I never thought I was academic. So that's why I've always pushed myself, whether it's on the commando, whether it's in the army. I always pushed myself to do better. I always pushed myself in business to do better. When it came to learning, what was I scared of? Well, actually, I was scared that I didn't have any qualifications. What qualifications could I do? I could do a degree. At my age, I could have done O levels and A levels, but I could do a degree. Okay, what degree is hard? A law degree and a medicine degree. Well, I wasn't ever going to be going to medicine. One of the reasons is I'm not overly keen on blood, certainly my own. So that sort of went, well, I'll do a law degree. You never know, I might become a solicitor. and that's how my mind worked through all the bits and pieces to get me to doing a law degree at the age of, excuse me, at the age of 42 and a master's at 47.
Absolutely, and congratulations for that. Because what I'm starting to think is, I mean, obviously, me coming from Zimbabwe as well, we do go through the same educational system that you would have gone through, you know, with the 13, we call it ZJC, which is junior certificate. Then we have O levels, and then we have A levels, and then you then go on to university and do whatever it is. And I must admit, I literally just, yeah, got as far as, you know, the A advanced level. And you can imagine how many other people would have just been, you know, demoralized by the system because they were not given that opportunity and that chance to actually showcase what they were capable of. And as you say, you know, the exams are very, very stressful because you've got 2 years worth of work in a 30-minute window where you actually have to nail it in order for you to go to the next level and things of that nature. So people just learn in order to, you know, go through that 30-minute segment. And I don't think they actually learn. They just learn to pass the exam.
I think that's a huge thing that you said there. They learn to pass the exam. They don't learn for the knowledge. And for me, when I was going through life, I've learned a lot of other things, like I said. And for me, when I was doing my law degree, it was a different type of learning. It was learning to understand, not learning to repeat and regurgitate. So for me, it was the understanding. It was very useful. In fact, it was hugely useful because it also helped me then start to think about how I understand myself. And that's the thing that not a lot of us do. We just crack on. And I always say, you're never too old to learn. And for me, I'll say my midlife crisis of learning proved to me that it doesn't matter where you come from, where you are now. If you want to do something, you can do it. It takes courage, persistence, and resilience, but we can do anything we want. We just have to make sure that we're aiming in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. And I've really, really value that. And I wish so many kids are told that and instilled within themselves instead of having their confidence, you know, nipped in the bud. Because you can imagine at 8, you stopped. You literally stopped and really got back into the swing of things a whole lot later, whereas your life could have taken a whole different trajectory. But I'm not saying, what happened to you shouldn't have, but I'm just saying, in as much as, if we had an education system that literally saw people's capabilities and talents and nurtured them, we would have a totally different world. But you've taken yourself, you've taken it upon yourself to do that for others, because you're known for instilling confidence in others, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot of things, and that's one of the things is we always question ourselves, but sometimes we don't question ourselves with the right questions. So the answers we get aren't productive, and it's having someone to actually ask why. The biggest, most powerful question to me is why. Why did I not do well at school? Why did I not do well at learning my times tables? Because of the way it's taught. I wasn't very good at the way it was taught. It's like saying to a goldfish in a goldfish bowl, right, today we're going to teach you to climb a tree. It's never going to happen, is it? Yeah. And however, because that fish can't climb a tree, it's going to be branded as, well, you can't do that. Well, it's not that you can't do that. It's as you said, and the words you said were nurture. It's finding what we can do to nurture the children in school so that they can bring out their massive potential.
You see, the thing is, when you don't appreciate or acknowledge anyone for doing well, they are just going to be like you said, wanting to achieve and become so much up until they literally burn out. And you knowing what you know now are literally giving people a breather and permission and literally giving them back to themselves, and saying, hey, you could do things better, or just look at what you're really sort of good at. And I think that gives so much relief to someone if you have somebody who believes in you and can allow you to be who you want to be. Have you got maybe a memorable success story where you literally saw a profound change in somebody's life after you'd worked with them because nobody else had given them a chance, and there you were?
I don't know about giving them a chance. A lot of the people I work with don't give themselves the chance. They certainly in the life coaching, they don't believe that they're allowed to start a business. They don't believe they've got the abilities to run a business. I've worked with some senior management people in senior management teams where they're not willing, or they don't want to self promote themselves so they can move up the ladder. And the thing is, each person's individual, and some people have limiting beliefs from their childhood, or from their teens, or from their 20s, and it can be one person saying one thing to them that can actually just stop them in the tracks. And it's understanding how they do that. I work with a lot of business owners to extract them away from the day-to-day running of the business, because a lot of business owners become business owners accidentally. They become accidental CEOs, but they end up working so much in the business, they don't have the time to enjoy and experience working on the business and growing the business so that they can step away from it. And it's things like that where I've had business owners who, the profound thing is getting a business owner to understand that he doesn't have to do everything in the business. And everything that happens in the business that possibly goes wrong is not his fault, because things happen. One client I was coming into an actual meeting into his unit. He had 10 CMC machines and he was on the floor fixing a machine. And I was like, why are you doing that? He says, well, I've got to fix it. I says, but you've got other people that can do that. You can delegate it. What should you be doing? And he turned around and says, I should be going and speaking to people about the next order that's coming in and how we're going to do it in the team and how the clients are going to do it. And these things they're little things that people don't know about themselves, but once they actually see it and it's identified, they can actually overcome those limiting beliefs, those problems, because then they can use an analytic mind to work them out themselves. And that's the thing, it's working them out themselves. I can't tell someone how to do something because they're the expert on them and they're the expert on their business. It's when they can actually get questioned and they have that aha moment of going, why am I doing this? This is such a time waste when I could be doing this and being productive. If that makes sense.
Oh no, it makes a bucket load of sense. And you see, that is one thing that a lot of people face, especially like you said, they start this business and they're passionate about it and they're the practitioner within the business. They're the actual mechanic, as you said, the fixer of everything else, I think Michael Gerbler wrote a book about that, the E-Myth, where...
Yeah, brilliant book.
Absolutely. People go in and then they're just the the practitioner. They're just the worker bee within the business. And guess what? If you've got a team and you don't let them do their part, they'll just watch. They won't tell you that we could actually fix that. They could watch. And in your coaching, you actually emphasize time over money, which is something that a lot of people need to, they can never have in the same sentence. Having time and money and freedom all in the same sentence, it's something that is unheard of with a lot of people. First of all, how did that shift in perspective come about, especially for yourself? And if you are working with people, what sort of impact does it have when somebody actually realizes they could literally get paid while they sleep?
So for me, it was I chased money through my 20s and 30s. I chased money, um, to the detriment of some of my family commitments. Um, and it was the part when I went through um, my burnout, and I was working on myself, and I realised that how much money do I need? How much money do I want? Um, and if I could do that, what would happen? And then I started to think about passive incomes. I'd already got a couple of properties, so I started to build my passive income. A passive income is an income that brings you in money without you having to work in it. So you don't have to be in the business for it to work. There's lots of ways to get passive income, whether that's an online course, whether it's a property, whether it's stocks and shares. There's lots of different ways and lots of different methods of doing it. But for me, it was the time when I was going through and realizing that I'd missed out on a lot of things with my children. And then it was like a sledgehammer to the back of the head. I felt sick. And with that realization, I was like, well, how can I optimize my time? In the military, we're taught to plan, but we're also taught that no plan survives its first contact. So sometimes you don't plan. And I then went back into planning my days, planning my weeks, planning my months, so that I could actually be productive in time. Everyone hears the thing about a busy fool. You don't want to be a busy fool. You want to be productive. You want to be doing stuff, work, whatever you want to call it, in a time related manner. And if you don't get it done in that time, make sure that you're not going to be running over too much, so that you can actually have everything in place. So for me, the productivity, like I says, it was a paradigm shift when I realized that time was the most important part of life. And also the fact that the relationships we have with other people are time related. The only thing I can guarantee in this life is death. We're only here for a finite time. And I then realised that I didn't want to waste that time on inconsequential things that don't make an impact on my life or the life of others. And that, for me, all of a sudden was the key that turned, that opened up a whole new perspective of how I ran my life. And then it was when I was working in businesses, well, when it comes to tasks, did I need to do it, or could I get somebody else to do it? And I was starting to free up time in my work life, and that freed up time in my social life, in my life. I plan, understanding that a plan can change. It's not fixed in stone. But if it's in there, I'll think about getting, and it's in my mind. It's going to happen. It's like today. This call, this interview, it was in my diary. Mm-hmm. It was planned. I've got other calls later planned. I know they're going to happen. So therefore, I'm ready for them. I'm ready to spend my time doing that, as opposed to things just being thrown at me and not understanding how to effectively use my time. So that was the big thing to me. The fact of money, well, I can always sell my time for money.
Yep.
I can sell my time to a shop. I can sell my time to a business. I can sell my time to anyone who wants to buy what skills I have. What I can't do is I cannot buy time. Once time's gone, it's gone. It's in the past. What I can do, though, is I can be in the present. I'm a huge believer of living in the present. And I can also plan for my future. I can make sure that I'm being productive in the future and spending my time with who I want to, when I want to, doing what I want to do. So that was a huge paradigm shift for me.
I can only imagine, because so many people come to that realization when it's a little too late, and they might have a lot of money but no more time, and they can't buy it off of anyone, even if they tried. So it's just one of those things that I wish so many people would actually understand. But Lee, obviously with everything that you've been through, I mean, now you've got two masters, you've started all these businesses, but why coaching? Why mentoring? I mean, you could be a lawyer, high stakes lawyer with masters in law right now. Even you could be a judge. You could be just about anything you want to, and you could fly yourself to the courtroom if you wanted. you know, why?
I realised when I did my values and purpose that I helped other people. I enjoy helping other people. Why do I do life coaching? Well, actually, it allows me to control. I'm not on anybody else's schedule. I run my business. I run my calendar. I run my diary. If I was doing law, I'd be on there. I'd be on somebody else's calendar. If I was judge, I'd be beholden to turn up when they want me to turn up, not when I want to turn up. And so that was the thing, is I always say I've worked for three people in my life: Her Majesty the Queen, God bless her soul, my ex-wife, and my wife. Those are the people that I've worked for, or to be truthful, have been employed. I've not been employed. I was employed in the army. Since then, I've always had my own businesses. Having your own businesses allowed me to do what I wanted to. And the thing was, I didn't actually, in July 2020, so I'd originally planned to retire at 40, not really understanding what retirement was. Didn't do that. I went through a divorce, so that set me back. And then I thought about retiring, but not understanding what retirement was. In the Maldives, in January 2019, me and my wife spent a week 2 weeks in the Maldives, and it was idyllic. It was like a paradise. But day two, I was bored, so I learned to dive. I went to go and dive. Well, I must admit, it was an absolutely amazing place. In July 2022, I actually stepped away from consulting. I retired. It was lovely. I spent time with my grandson, and I had a good time. But the problem was, what do I do? So I started to write a book. I started to do other things, and that's when it was in the latter part of 2023 that I was offered to do a master's in business mentoring. So that's what I did. And then this time last year, having graduated with my master's in business mentoring, that's when I started to sort of look at clients again, business mentor. Why? Because I get to help people from around the world to live the life that they want, or that they desire and they deserve, because they've worked hard for it. So that, for me, being in servitude was something that, being in the army, I learned about. Being in business, I learned about. Mentoring and coaching, it allows me to flourish and help other people. And as we said before, it's not about me being the hero of their journey. They're the hero of their journey. I'm just the guide. I talk to people. I'm the Obi-Wan Kenobi to Skywalker. I'm the Hamish to the girl in Hunger Games. I'm not the person in the limelight. I don't want to be the person in the limelight. I'm the person that helps people step up into the limelight, to be seen and to prosper, to be able to actually do and live the life that they want. So that's why I do it. It comes to the fact that I don't have to do it. As I said, I retired. I came back to it because you get bored. And my retirement now will be very different to what I thought it was. Because sitting on a beach, sipping beers or cocktails all the time isn't me. What I enjoy and I get fulfilled, and it's about fulfillment and satisfaction in life, is helping other people overcome by themselves, not me telling them, but them finding out how to do things that can make their life better.
Absolutely, absolutely. I viscerally believe in life. We're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. And in order for us to be able to live that really well-lived life, we need to learn. And based on, your track record, you've done all the learning. Now it's just your turn to, instead of sipping pina coladas and, looking at your novel on the beach, you've decided to send the elevator down and help others be, do, and have a happier existence. Now, while I was looking you up, I noticed you've got programs that you take people through. I think one of them is Limitless Life, and the other one is the Business Growth Blueprint. And just from the reviews alone, they're highly praised. Now, can you maybe share with us how these are, first of all, different from other coaching programs, and how people can maybe start participating in this so they can have a limitless life?
Certainly. So limitless life is something I believe that everyone can have, and that's why I named the program Limitless Life. And it comes as it's life coaching, and it's based for people who want more. They know they want more, but they're not sure how to get it. And that can be understanding limiting beliefs, understanding that they can start a business. And a lot of people that go through it come out at the other end with a view of starting a business. And that's a 6-week or 12-week course. And as I said, it's one-to-one coaching. I'm not into group coaching or programs where everything's online, because most people who do online don't finish the course. So for me, it's holding people accountable and getting them to understand that they can live a limitless life, and it doesn't matter what their background is. As we said, I didn't do well at school. I was born I lived on an estate in Birmingham. I'm classed as what people look at as successful. I've got my own businesses. I don't have to work. Success is very subjective, and some people see me as successful, some people don't. But it's helping people define their own success in a limited and living a limitless life. That's the life coaching side, and I love doing that. The business blueprint is business mentoring, and that's a 12-month program where we work through. I'm not one of these business mentors that say, I can grow your business in 2 days, I can double your income in 3 days, and you'll be multi-millionaires in 4 days. For me, it's about sustainable growth. Every business can grow, and I work with the business owners, the CEOs, or the senior management team to actually help that happen. And that for me is, as I said, it's fulfilling and satisfying, helping other businesses stop. I am looking at starting a business club at some point. At the moment, as I said before, in our personal chat, I've got clients in America, UK, and Europe. And that for me is testament in itself. What I don't do is I don't work 40 hours a week. I control the amount of hours I work. And there's a number of reasons for that. One is to protect me. And two, it's so that I can be fully engaged with my clients, because they are the most important thing to them. Therefore, they need to be able to step up and be able to understand themselves and the engagement they do, whether it's in life or in business.
Absolutely. And what would be the best way that people can maybe tap into these resources and get started?
So I've got my website, www.leebroders.com, and there's also www.businessgrowth.global. From there, you can actually have a look at who I am, what I do, and where I've been, but also links to both the Limitless Life program and also the business growth blueprint.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that those links are in the show notes below so that people can get started in that. Now, Lee, obviously you mentioned that you on your own accord started, learning to fly and things like that. What sort of aircraft do you fly?
Oh, it's only a small Cessna or a Piper. It's only 4-seaters. I did, again, around the time I was thinking of doing my law degree, I did think about doing a commercial pilot's license. it comes back to the same thing. I'm then working for somebody else. I want somebody else's timeline.
Oh, absolutely.
And though I would love to have done it, because you get to travel the world, and well, maybe not when you first start, but I decided that that's what I wanted not to do,
Mm.
because on somebody else's timeline. So no, it's small planes. It's just around the UK. Um, when the weather's good enough, I should say. When I get to America, I'm looking at traveling to America next year. I'm looking to do some flying out there. The weather's a lot better than the UK, and I know that in Australia there's a lot of small planes used out in the outback and that. So it might be that when I get down to Australia, I'll go and do a couple of flights down there too.
Absolutely, absolutely. You'd love it around here. You'd love it because there's just, so much of the land to fly across. And a flight to Thailand from Melbourne takes about 9 hours, five of which you're just in Australia. So you can only
I know it's quite a big landmass. I
yeah.
think only a bit, but
Fantastic. All right. So, I mean, yeah. And one other thing, if we're going to be flying together when you come to Australia, you're going to need to have a call sign. What will be your call sign, Lee?
so the call signs are in the UK, internationally, are the name of the number that's on the plane.
Oh,
However, if it came to something like that, as I said as before, I always see myself as the fall guy, the stunt man that he doesn't get the recognition of the superstars. And that for me is probably where I sit myself. I help people, I elevate people up, um, so that they can be the superstar and hero of their journey.
fantastic. So when we're calling in you on the radio, it'll be like ground control to elevator, ground control to elevator. Ah, fantastic. I really love how you have defied the odds and really showed people that no matter who you are, no matter where you're starting from, you too can be, do, and have a happier existence. And not only have you just done that for yourself, but you've gone on and done it for other people. And now you're also still sharing the love. And I viscerally believe you believe in living in an abundant life, and obviously the power of gratitude, which comes along with being in the position that you're in, because you wouldn't have been able to do this alone, and neither can the people that are, learning from you do it by themselves. They're going to need a guide, like who's well equipped, in the journey that they're going to be on. Now, how do you encourage clients to maybe incorporate this mindset in their daily lives? Because everybody is just sort of bombarded with negativity and they just think, it's never going to happen. Yet you're there proving it. Somebody told you you can't do anything at school and you've got two masters to show for it.
I think what you've just said is you've hit the nail on the head. It's living a life of abundance and gratitude. First thing I do when I wake up is say thank you. I'm alive, and it might sound really small and petty, but it's an amazing thing to wake up every morning. Believing in yourself. I Mindfulness is a huge thing, and that is the start of my day. A bit of meditation, which I always thought was woo woo, but it actually does. It's not about clearing your mind; it's about focusing your mind, and then also affirmations and believing in yourself, having faith in yourself. Because without faith in yourself, nobody else will have faith in you. The problem we get with that is none of us believe that we're worthy. Unless you're narcissistic, and there are a few people out there, but most people don't believe that they're worthy. What I say to people is you are worthy. Live a life of abundance and gratitude. Be thankful for every single moment that you have, and spend that moment the best you can. Because there's only it's only an infinite amount of moments that we have in life. So coming back to the fact that time is the most important thing, have faith in yourself, because it doesn't matter, as you said, who you are, where you come from. If you want to do something, you can do it. It's not going to be easy, but you can do it.
Absolutely. Now, Lee, now that you've gotten us into your world, we're all excited about, what's in it. But what can people expect now? Now that we, have come on board, what's in store for the future?
So I'm looking at. I've just started with doing professional speaking. I'm speaking to people in America about doing some speaking over there, and also some speaking in the UK. And again, that's just to be able to get the message out that you don't have to be Superman to be able to do what you do, or want what you want. So the speaking is one thing, and actually, it's going to be very much of the same. It's about helping people, one, understand that they can live a limitless life, and helping business owners step away from the day-to-day running so that they can enjoy their life, so that they don't have to sell the business to make lots of money, and they can do it by getting the right people in. There's lots of things that can happen within a business to grow it. But yeah, for me, it's about much the same. I've got my work-life balance, my balance quite well. Now it's just getting out to see more people, and that's the message I'm putting out there, that anyone can actually do what they want in life.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you so much, Lee. I mean, we could go on and on because your life story and your experience have so much value. Like every turn, just opens up a whole new can of worms. And yeah, you have actually lived a well-lived life, sir. So thank you so much for the journey that you have taken, and also being willing to share this journey with us here on the Online Prosperity Show today.
Prosper, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to be here, and to speak to yourself.
Absolutely. What a journey, right? I mean, from military missions to mentoring, Lee Broders has shown that, I mean, clarity and confidence are within reach for all of us. This has been remarkable. And if you're watching right now, thank you so much. I know there's a lot to grasp, and there's just so much to marvel at the man that has been presented to you today. But if you've enjoyed today's insights, don't just stop there. I encourage you to follow the links that are going to be in the show notes and connect with Lee Broders so that you too can start living a limitless life. And while you're at it, I do encourage you to share this video with someone who actually needs a boost, or who's been told that they'll never amount to anything. And, they've probably lived their whole life, thinking that they can never become anything, because somebody else's opinion can never determine where you end up in life. And usually, yes, although we respect them, teachers, doctors, they might give you a diagnostic which will literally analyze you, internally. But if you really work towards wanting more, being more, and having more, you too, my friend, can be, do, and have a happier existence. And I mean, if you appreciate the work that we're doing here, be sure to subscribe for more episodes filled with inspiring stories and actionable advice. Join us next time on the Online Prosperity Show for another chance to transform your life and business. Until next time, be limitless. Bye for now.